I'll show some examples demonstrating some of the undesirable behavior that can occur with use of the plain LaTeX environment eqnarray. In the first example, the equation is too wide to fit with an equation number, but that's not stopping eqnarray from keeping the equation and the label on the same line. Often, a good alternative to eqnarray is the align environment provided by the amsmath package. Our change to the align environment has introduced some unwanted horizontal space. In contrast with eqnarray, with align, we only use an ampersand on the left-hand side of the alignment point. The equation is still too wide, but at least align moved the label to another line. But we don't really want an equation number on an empty line. Also, any sort of alignment environment isn't really appropriate for this display. Let's try changing to the equation environment. We're in luck. Now the equation fits even with the label. This happened because the align environment does not take advantage of the available shrink in the glue around the operators, but the equation environment does. And there was enough shrink available for the equation to fit. Next, we turn to behavior of eqnarray that can corrupt the author's intended meaning. This two-equation display was typeset using eqnarray. One of the two equations in the display has a number. The next two lines on the page are odd. The structure of these lines is by equation 3, equation 3. Let's look at the code. We see that the code for each line of the display has a label command, but the code for the second line also has a no number. Because of the no number, an equation number does not appear on the second line. Unfortunately, the equation counter was incremented and a label for that line was created, even though the label doesn't appear in the display. But it will appear if referred to, as it does in the by 3 here. After the creation of this label, the equation counter was decremented because of the no number. So the next number line of the displayed math has the same label as the one that appears to be unnumbered. The align environment does not have this bad behavior, so let's change to that. As we saw earlier, we have twice as many ampersands as we want, so I will remove those. Now, as it should be, the reference in the no number line is undefined. We can see this in the output, but even if we failed to see it, we could catch the warning appearing in the log file. Looking at the code, I suspect that the author meant for the first line not to be numbered. Looking at the math seems to confirm that guess. So I'll unnumber the first line. I think this is what the author meant. If I were to make such a change while editing a paper, I would leave a marginal note in the proofs alerting the author so that they could check whether the change is appropriate. The final display is also typeset using eqnarray. As with the first display in this video, no environment for alignments is appropriate here, so we will simply switch to the equation environment. We don't want any ampersands now. To make things easier, more efficient, and less tedious, I will change the cat code of the ampersands so that they are ignored characters. Did you notice anything? The first difference you may have noticed earlier. There was excessive horizontal spacing around equal signs when we were using the eqnarray environment. Generally, the spacing around relational operators is governed by thickmuskip, but the spacing around the relational operators in these eqnarray examples was governed by arraycolsep. The second difference is that the vertical space before the final display has been reduced to a more aesthetically pleasing amount. This is because with the equation environment, abovedisplayshortskip was used for the vertical space above the display, but with eqnarray, the larger abovedisplayskip was. Although the align environment is superior to eqnarray, it does share this shortcoming, which is another reason it is best not to use the align environment when it's not necessary. I hope that I've convinced you to use the align environment when it is the best option and to stay away from eqnarray.